Welcome back to the Ball and Breakfast podcast. I'm Patrick Miller alongside Wayne Pua here for another rendition. We're going to cover NFL Week 2, talk some baseball, some basketball. But in the meantime, if you're listening, give us a follow, a like, a subscription, a comment, anything across the channels that you're listening on. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor. We're on YouTube for video, and then for social media, you can catch us on Instagram, Twitter, at our account. So check us out, engage with us, keep following. It's been fun to see, some of the progress in the following, and we're definitely mixing it up online. So, tell us what you like to hear, and then we'll try to cover it. But I guess without further ado, we'll kick it off for NFL Week 2. We're going to play another round of pass or grass, and I'm going to kick it off with Wayne on the Chargers and Chiefs, pass or grass.
I'll grass this. I definitely watched this game. Had some barbecue while eating some barbecue while watching it and everything. The Chargers. You're talking about, I think, the best roster. I think we were talking about this before, how the Chargers have one of the best rosters in the entire NFL. It's probably between them and the Bills. But then how they competed against the Chiefs, you just see how good Patrick Mahomes is, right? I think that's just been the biggest takeaway, is that they've almost gotten better without Tyreek Hill. It's with Tyreek Hill, you kind of knew what to expect. They're going to try to take the top off every so often and do some under routes here and there, and then have Kelsey, kind of just run everything in the middle. But now it's they can kill you multiple ways. Sure, they still got Hardman, they got Schuster, Kelsey, obviously, but then they're also looking into their backfield, running a little bit more with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, also having him catch out of the backfield. So they're essentially kind of killing you in multiple areas. Then their defense has been making some plays here and there too. So, it's almost with the Patrick Mahomes factor and kind of his mystique and how he just has elevated himself, almost a quarterback god. It's you can have the best pass rush against you. They're two of the best pass rushers in the game, one of the best secondaries in the game. But that's not going to matter. I'm still Patrick Mahomes. I'm still going to take you apart. So, I know the game was 27-24, but it certainly didn't feel that way, I think, at the end of the game. It definitely felt like the Chiefs kind of were in charge of the entire game for most of the game and all of that. So, but good to see, at least from the fantasy standpoint, for all the Mike Williams owners out there, that he got some receptions there, with Keenan Allen not being in there. But I still think Justin Herbert he's still my MVP pick. Still solid game overall. Just had to go against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. So, what are your thoughts, Pat?
Yeah, the big interception, the 99-yarder, that was just such a backbreaker. I was watching that live in Columbia, South Carolina, out at a bar, and I was just feeling bad for Herbert because the game was so close, and that was such a key drive. If they would have got that, who knows? They might have been 2-0, and we'd be, having a different narrative around this game. But Patrick Mahomes is who he is. I think, he's not skipped a beat with Tyreek Hill out. I didn't think he would be lost, on the road or anything like that. I figured he would, find his way to, making some new connections with new receivers. I feel the same way about Aaron Rodgers. It's just going to take some time for him to, develop rapport with some of these other guys that we consider, cast-offs. But Herbert played really well. His numbers were solid besides that interception. I just, the rib injury was huge because, I guess toward the end of the game, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, man, if I was this coach and this is my star player and it's week 2, and I know it's a big game, such an important game, division game. I get it. One of those situations where if a pitcher is to call back, the pitching coach manager, usually they go to the pen. I feel like maybe you could go to the pen with, just concerns about his ribs, because he looked visibly shaken out there. I can't, he still made some awesome throws. I think he had a big touchdown throw after holding his ribs. So, tip your cap off to Justin Herbert for, his efforts there. Seems like the Chiefs are still the cream of the division. So, somebody to, shows them they're not. And I'll be interested. I'll be interested to see where the rematch takes them when they go to LA.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, I think there was that one pass for Justin Herbert who was trying to throw the ball away or something like that. Or I think he could have run it, but then it was just such an awkward looking thing. It was like, this guy is so uncomfortable with his ribs and everything. I think he might be listed for questionable for the next game. So, it definitely it could have its long effects. So, maybe my Justin Herbert prediction for MVP is it might not come into fruition compared to say what's happening with Josh Allen over there. But yeah, it is unfortunate, I guess, lost with that. And yeah, that interception really killed that drive. And, it put all the momentum towards the Chiefs for that game.
Yeah, hopefully he's okay. I mean, Chargers are obviously in this, when we talk about Super Bowl and everything like that. Like, I think they proved, it was kind of blow for blow with the Chiefs in that whole game being on the road, big primetime game on a Thursday. Like, I think they'll get more and more experience as they go along here. Please, I really hope Justin Herbert's not injured because I just want to see a new star kind of be born here. And, I'd love to see just a great competition heading into, the new year. So I guess with that, we'll go on to the next one. Commanders lost 27-36 to the Detroit Lions on the road. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass it off to you, man.
Yeah, I just got to say, Jared Goff is having a great start to the season. Good for him. He's proving that, he's a viable quarterback. How long this lasts, we don't know. But I think the one thing that we've talked about already is with the Detroit Lions is that they have an offense. They've got a solid offensive line. I think that's what leads the way. DeAndre Swift is a playmaker. I think he's breaking out in his own way. I mean, he had a great year last year, but I think he's, taking it a step further, going to kind of establish himself as an upper echelon running back in this game, even though he plays for Detroit. And then it's just, looking at some of the weapons. I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't a sleeper anymore. This guy is a bona fide one, I think. Chark is, good for support. I can't really talk about Hawkinson's numbers, but I think having his presence out there, he's another guy you got to kind of keep an eye on in a lot of ways. So good for them in the offense. I mean, I think the defense is a little lagging, as I think was kind of, where experts were saying they'd be. It would be kind of tough going on the defensive side, but I know Aiden Hutchinson had 3 sacks for what it's worth. So kind of a good breakout party for him, being a top pick. But Commanders, they're going to have up and downs this year. I mean, I'm thinking they're dancing around 500. I like where their team is relative to other teams in the NFC. So, it's kind of a shootout in a lot of ways, but to give up 36 points, I mean, says a lot about where their defense is at right now. So, we'll see where they go with their season, but no, I mean, big win for Detroit for sure.
Yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, he is the breakout star for fantasy, I think, for a lot of leagues. Holy cow, he's bringing it. He's bringing it. So he's a star. So good for him. Good for bringing some star power to Detroit for the Lions there. But also, it's nice to see Dan Campbell get some love there. I think they were on Hard Knocks too, right? So
oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So it's the Lions they're rebranding a little bit as opposed to just being this downtrodden franchise. Maybe they still are a little bit, but I feel like they have some momentum heading their way with regards to Swift, who's on. He's definitely something that I've been keeping an eye on. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown, definitely some good picks there. And Hawkinson, he's a tight end in one of my other leagues here that I have. And man, he's been kind of a disappointment there for now, but he's definitely, I think, going to get his in the future. So yeah, kudos to the Lions there.
Got it. Jets 31, Browns 30. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass it. Yeah, I'll pass it off to you, man.
Not much to say, honestly. I mean, both franchises are in a spot right now where I feel like, Deshaun Watson needs to come back for the Browns. I know we were pretty hyped about the first week. I still like the roster. I like where they're at, but, kind of when you have Jacoby Brissett and it's like, That's who you gotta kind of have to lean on to get you a big win. It's kind of tough. Obviously, stats were put up in this game. I think Garrett Wilson was the one person that really stood out, especially from a fantasy perspective. I mean, everybody was gushing about this guy, but to be a first rounder, that's a lot of draft capital put toward this guy. 14 targets. He had 8 receptions, 100 plus yards. I think he had a touchdown or 2. Way to go. I think that's like banking on that investment. I think right away you can tell like a guy who can get, that many targets, a large portion of the target share in his rookie year, put up those kinds of numbers with all the hype around him. I think they're looking at a star. It might just be, a matter of time until Corey Davis takes a back seat, or maybe, he usurps Elijah Moore as being the most widely regarded star, receiver on that team. It's just, it's nice to see him do what he was doing. And then, we talked about Flacco last week, just cool that Flacco is still in the league, kicking along here. And, big win for the Jets with Zach Wilson out.
Yeah, I know for sure. Flacco was 103 attempts. So they are a passing team for crying out loud. So that's great for the Wilson owners out there. And any Jets wide receiver apparently now. So it's really exciting to see that Joe Flacco is still kicking it, still getting some love, and still was able to nab the victory for the Jets here. So and I feel a lot worse now about my drafting of Dobbins over Nick Chubb. So I am an idiot, and I will eat that for sure. So yeah.
Yeah, no problem. I feel like if Dobbins is healthy, then we have an actual discussion to have. It's just it's hard to predict some of these injuries going into the year. Same way we both took Najee Harris in the first round. It's already out of the gate. We're dealing with some injuries here. So everything held equal. Those guys are probably on the same playing field. I've just, Chubb in general, he's going to get his work all the time. He just seems like he's kind of like a Frank Gore type. He's just so consistent. You just hand him the rock, he's going to do his job, and it's always going to be kind of impressive. But it's it's sneaky. Without the catches, he doesn't get the fantasy hype. But he's a rock back there for sure.
Yeah, 3 touchdowns, man. Oh, crushed me. But yeah.
Next up, we have the Buccaneers 20 and the New Orleans Saints 10. Wayne, pass or grass?
I will. Yeah, I'll grass this. I think we saw kind of what was kind of expected here. Jameis Winston, he still is Jameis Winston with the turnovers and everything. So I think that was kind of predicted there. It was nice to see Chris Olave get some love. I think he was my pick for rookie of the year. I love watching him run routes and just being out there and everything. So, but yeah, it is hard to kind of beat the Bucks. I think they're both of our teams. That defense is looking really solid right now. I think they gave 3 points last week and then 10 points this week. So the defense is looking really good there. And Fournette's, he's getting his yards. Tom Brady's being Tom Brady and everything. So fun fight with Lattimore and Evans. I think Evans is out for 1 game, I believe. So definitely an entertaining game overall there. But yeah, that Bucks defense is really stepping up, I think.
Yeah. On that fight, Lattimore and Evans have been at each other's throats for the past few seasons. I feel like every year there's tons of hand checking, and I feel like they've already come to blows in a game before. So not surprised at all to see Evans just, run out there like a psychopath and go right for him. So I just think that beef's well established at this point. I think a lot of the dialogue I heard around this game was just is Tom Brady kind of over the hill as a star quarterback? And I don't buy into any of that. I think, obviously missed some time in OTAs, and he's getting older. He is an older guy, but he's going to take care of his body. He doesn't need to do a lot. I feel like when I look at the Bucks, they remind me in parts like the Eagles this year. I feel like they have so much around their offense and defense that at the quarterback position, it's just do a good job. You don't have to, go Lamar Jackson every single game to prove you're a top quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts is in that same category. It's yes, he's balling out, but when you have the best line defense, some weapons around you, it's just just protect the ball and like, you just bank on those, easy scoring opportunities. And I feel like, Tom's been around the block for so long that, I was actually surprised to see him get a W in New Orleans, because that's been kind of like one of those spots that are, notoriously hard for him as a Buccaneer to go in and kind of get W's. So, yeah, ditto on the defense. We'll see how good this team is, especially on the defensive end for the rest of the season. But if that defense can just carry them, then they can weather, the absence of Evans, the loss of Godwin, the receiving core thinning out, an older Brady, Fournette not hitting the end zone yet. It's like there are issues on the offensive side that we can talk about, but that defense is so good that they don't even have to like sweat it right now.
Yeah, in a way, it's kind of like the Tom Brady's of the Patriots and everything, right? Where except that they're just hurt or they're suspended now, so as opposed to just not drafting well on the offensive side. So, but yeah, their defense is strong. That's definitely going to keep them around in games and sneak out some wins here. As long as they can be formidable on offense, and that's really Tom Brady's MO basically. So he's always just been the smart player, makes the right reads, makes the right plays and everything. So if he can just keep doing that, have a good defense, they'll come the second half of the season. Hopefully then they'll be a lot more healthy and have more of that offensive rhythm down the stretch. So
absolutely. Panthers 16, New York Giants 19. Wayne, pass or grass?
Pass.
I'm also passing, and I don't want to talk about either of these teams. So we're going to move on to the very next game. It was on at the same time, which I watched both of these games. But New England Patriots 17, Pittsburgh Steelers 14. Wayne, pass or grass?
Oh man, do I need a? I think I'll grass this. I talked a lot of crap about the Patriots, being all the no sex team and everything. I think last episode, but hey, they had just enough. They did just enough. 17-14 against the Steelers. Steelers were without Watt, and I think that was a big thing for them. Yeah, sure, the Pats only had 17 points, but I feel like they just always they needed that like game-changing play more so to like shorten the field for them a little bit. Trubisky didn't have his best game. Like, I think every week I cheer for him, just be like Alex Smith, just do the Alex Smith route. But I think he was too Alex Smith. He didn't really like toss it downfield too much, and just I kind of thought about like, I think he's still suffering like PTSD from like Nagy and like the play calling there and getting hit a bunch. So, something is just has him just being really conservative in terms of his approach to the game and his reads. So, but yeah, it was a good win. I think it was definitely New England football. It was definitely their kind of play, just kind of a grind, if you will. And yeah, that one pass to Aguilar that really kind of settled it for them and pushed them over the top. So good Pats win, not sexy obviously, but still they were able to get the job done.
Yeah, I was watching this game out, and I just kept commenting like, this is the Bears Trubisky. And I was just like, watch this play. And I would just call out like every little play and stuff, like watch what he'll do here and this and that. And I was starting to get like really on him for this game, but it was just, he just left a lot to be like, desired in this game. And, after a big, victory last week against the, Super Bowl contenders, it was like, could this dovetail into something that, Trubisky, could be proud of, could, just put a hold on the job for a while on. And I don't know, man, I think he's serviceable. I think he, can manage a game. But I don't know if there's like another level to his game. And I feel like we got to that point in Chicago, not that it was, the worst situation for him or for us, overall as a quarterback. But when you again, spend the first round pick, number 2 overall or what have you, and, do you trading up for that guy? It's like, yeah, man, I just think, Alex Smith would be the dream come true scenario for him. And, no disrespect to Alex Smith either, because, he had a great career. But on the Patriots end of things, I think the running game, they established that early and often with Damian Harris and Ramondre Stevenson. I think those guys, each average about 5 yards a carry. They just had their way on the ground with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Jacoby Myers got his work in too. I saw that Aguilar catch, which was pretty awesome. But big win on the road for the Pats, because I think next week they have a big home game coming up. I want to double check who they're playing, but I know a lot of analysts are talking about they absolutely can't start 0-2, and part of that is because they're playing the Ravens next week at home. So good on them to just stay in this race here, because they drop that and allow the Bills to just kind of keep doing what they're doing. Maybe Miami, has a good year too. Like the Pats could fall out of the race early. So both teams are now standing at 1-1, but overall I see them as like kind of middling around 500 at best.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's definitely the Belichick, just a grind, I feel like. But you definitely need to run the ball and take the ball a little bit out of Mac Jones' hands. But then Mac Jones still delivered, I think, with 250 plus yards, right? So that's just good coaching, and it's hard to, if you're Bill Belichick, it's always hard. He can't lose twice in a row. I feel like that's just his whole thing, or he gets really angry. So yeah,
fair enough. Jaguars shut out the Colts 24-0. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass this. What's you, man?
Just an abysmal outing by Matt Ryan. 3 picks, no touchdowns. Jonathan Taylor only got 9 carries. I mean, it's kind of looking around the offense. I mean, they were out without Michael Pittman, so I think that's a huge loss in their passing game. But I mean, 24-0 to the Jaguars, that's pretty shameful, especially after they trashed Carson Wentz on his way out of the city last year. Again, like, Carson Wentz is not perfect, but in the same sense, like, they basically like just outed him and like get this guy out of here. He's terrible and this and that. I just think like the Colts, it's kind of sad because I picked them to, be the AFC South, division winner this year. And it's just like what they've shown off the bat with the, the tie in Houston, with Houston. And then, this game, it's like, man, that's going to be a really like sorry division the way it's looking right now. Good on the Jaguars. I mean, if we were to be honest with ourselves and ask, who is the best quarterback in that division, I mean, I think saying Trevor Lawrence is okay. And who knows, maybe Trevor Lawrence just takes this victory and runs with it a little bit. I mean, they've got a couple of backs behind him. They've got an okay receiving core. I mean, they added a lot of, money to the team, and they've added some defensive players too. I don't know. It's just hard to like put your arms around like who's really going to step out in this division and kind of take it. At this point, I mean, the Jaguars look like the most solid team so far, which is really, really sad. But I don't know. I mean, I don't have much else to say, but Matt Ryan, like the clock is ticking. Like, you need to step up next week and like show, why they acquired you, and kind of, definitely put on a show in some form or fashion.
Yeah. They also didn't have, was it Leonard, I think, on the defensive end. So they were without 2 of their probably 3 best players, right, in their entire team. So, number one probably being Jonathan Taylor, right? So, but still, yeah, that's a big blow. And Jacksonville, for all their worth, they're a young, talented team. Now they have Doug Peterson, who's a Super Bowl winning coach. So, he knows how to essentially work with an offense and knows how to play to the player's strengths more so. So, and we see that he's utilizing James Robinson, or the Mr. Illinois State, right? So, and Christian Kirk is getting his reps too. So that, that's probably as solid of a signing as they could do. Granted, he paid the money, maybe not worth it and all that, but they definitely wanted just to get Trevor Lawrence, somebody to throw to that has some experience. And Trevor Lawrence, he's obviously a talented quarterback, being going a number 1 overall and everything. So he's definitely has something to contribute there. And Trayvon Walker's, being Trayvon Walker, the kind of that athletic person that we saw in college and everything, and it's translating pretty fairly well, or at least this early on into the NFL. So kudos for them to just maybe they do run away with this division, because it's not sexy. It's definitely not sexy here too. So
No doubt. Any other thoughts about AFC South, or, just with this game, do you have any like, here's who I think is going to step out for the rest of the year, or
I don't know.
Division?
Yeah, I don't know. If Jacksonville pulls it off, though, well, that's pretty impressive. Having like two number one overall picks essentially, and then on a pass rusher on the defensive side, and then obviously quarterback on the offensive side. So it's like you get two playmakers on both sides, two of the most important positions on each side of the ball. So that could be actually one way to just go by it. Tank it, hire Urban Meyers to have one tank year, let him get drunk and wasted and all that, and then get the number one overall pick, and then improve on the other side of the ball. So that could be a good way to do it. Maybe potentially in the future, but Jacksonville is very talented, so they certainly could do run with the division.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals did it last year after having really awful freshman year for Joe Burrow. Obviously they don't have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd to kind of kick it to. I mean, I feel like maybe Kirk is in the Tyler Boyd range of wide receivers, but in the same sense, if nobody's going to step up and take it, if there was a team that came into this season with some sort of momentum, confidence, it'd probably be the Jaguars, because they spent all that money and they refreshed at the coaching hire, and added some more people through the draft. So we'll see where this goes, but big victory, and we'll see what happens in the AFC South. Next game was the Miami Dolphins 42, Baltimore Ravens 38. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll grass this, but reluctantly, because those Ravens. I've never seen like one player to blame as much on the defensive side of the ball, I feel like, than Kyle Hamilton. Like, stay back in the secondary. Like, stay back. You got Burners and Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Like, why are you playing up at the line of scrimmage? Like, you can catch up with them. Like, both these wide receivers run 4.3 or like 4.2s, right? So, and they just got burnt. They got burnt, and that's how they were able to score like all those touchdowns in the fourth quarter. So, it's nice to be aggressive ever so often, but come on, Kyle. Like, and so there was definitely a lot of blame there. I saw like Marcus Williams was like saying, "Hey man, like, this is your assignment. Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you playing up in the line of scrimmage? This isn't college. You don't got a bunch of 4.3 wide receivers unless you're without going against Alabama or Ohio State." So, it was just a bad game there, and it was kind of sorry, because it was like Lamar Jackson was having a hell of a game, and they were just like giving up these big plays. Like, and now it's like all these people that were saying Tua can't throw the ball is like he was just throwing bombs to Waddle and Hill, kind of like in Madden in a way, because of this blown coverage. With Hamilton basically being the person that just wasn't playing back there. So, bad game from the secondary for the Ravens. Like, it was a terrible game. They were giving up those big plays in the fourth quarter, and they weren't able to keep the momentum or keep the ball on the offensive side in the fourth quarter. And Tua really showed up. Saw the wide open wide receivers and gave it to them, despite everybody knocking on his arm. Apparently, like, the guy can throw. Like, threw okay in college. Just because Instagram has a poor pass here and there and bad weather doesn't mean he can't throw. So the guy's 6'2", 6'3", and 230 still or something like that. It's like jacked, built. Like, the guy can throw a ball okay. And then Mike McDaniels, who I think I had as the coach of the year, which I think now Vegas has him as the highest odds. So kudos for him having that game plan. And I don't know if there was a game plan, just chucking it past Kyle Hamilton, but it worked. I think I did like his press conference. I think he said, I think it'd be good for us if we played behind. But then he was like, I think they took me too seriously when I said that, because that was a hell of a comeback, and look at those Dolphins now, man. They're definitely a force to be reckoned with. In this 2 weeks of the season. So
Yeah, I mean, I think Tua catches too much crap for who he is as a quarterback at this stage in his career. It's like he's under so much pressure, I feel like, and it's like feels a little bit unwarranted. Before they brought over all the weapons and stuff this year, running backs, wide receivers, etc. It's like, I don't know. I just don't get why it felt like there was just a lot of hate on this guy. And, not to say I expect 476 touchdowns from here on going out. But, can he throw for 270 like he did in week 1 with 1 or 2, touchdowns per week? Like, that's in the realm of possibilities. Like, I don't know if you see any more upside in him. Like, I picked him up in fantasy because, Lance broke his ankle or whatever, but it's like, I picked him up because he's in this great offense. I think he can be a pretty good facilitator. And like, let's just look at Jalen Hurts year 3. Like year 3, Jalen Hurts looks like Lamar Jackson. And it's like, just give this guy a little bit of time, give him some confidence. Like, he was in the Watson trade rumor discussions. He's been, talked about as somebody that just like outright replaced through a draft. It's like, yeah, let's not forget this guy was like at Alabama, just, winning national titles and just, throwing dimes. And, some of those balls that he was, finding Hill and Waddle wide open on. I mean, he was throwing some pretty deep ball spirals on those. I was like, damn, those highlights look pretty good. And, ditto on the offense. I mean, when Hill and Waddle are combining for, 300 yards receiving and like 20 plus receptions, it's like your day is done as a defense. And it's going to be hard to stop them even with, a good secondary if Tua's on his game. So, yeah, good for Miami. Glad to see them kind of get past the 8-8s and, kind of maybe asserting themselves as like, if they don't win the division, can they be, like a strong wild card team, like a, handful of games over 500? Like it's looking that way right now. They got the Bills next week, so that'll be a real test for them, as they kind of take on Josh Allen and those boys. But no, I was really, just really happy to see just all the developments on that side. And then from Baltimore's perspective, man, Lamar Jackson is like the backpack. He is just seriously carrying this team right now. And, love Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman stepping out a little bit, but, that franchise is, their bread and butter is the defense. And you've already covered, a lot of the issues on that side, but they're going to have to shore that up. And if they do, I still see them as being like formidable in that division. I think they'll figure some of this stuff out, but it was definitely a bad showing.
Yeah, for sure. It's like they were their own worst enemy in a way there. And Lamar, like first 3 quarters was like the best quarterback. Like everybody was like saying, pay this guy, he's the MVP and everything. And he was showing it. He had himself a hell of a game. It was 100 plus yards. I think he had 300 passing, if I'm not mistaken too. But then, those bombs that they were just giving up, blown coverages and everything. Colin Hamilton just not being in the right position against two burners. Like, So that Tua is definitely a good pickup. I think we'll see how he goes against some other other teams. Maybe cover 4 a little bit more here and there. I don't know, or have at least a safety back, not just like safeties blitzing and stuff like that. So I think they definitely showcase their speed at wideout, and it's like Tua knows how to utilize it. So
good on them. The next game up in the list was the Falcons narrowly losing to the Los Angeles Rams 31-27 on the road. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll grass it only because in one of my alternative leagues, I should say, I got Kyle Pitts, and he's not getting anything. Like what is up with all of this? You have like one of the fastest, most athletically gifted tight ends, and they're not passing to him. Like not in the red zone. I kept on getting like red zone updates. Like, oh, is finally going to get something, and nothing. So I don't know what's up with that. Mariota, like, come on, like what's up? So that would be my only thing there. But I didn't watch the game, but like the Rams giving up 27 points to the Falcons. Like, there's got to be something there, maybe. But Stafford looks like he had himself a good game, and Kupp got his. So looks like the offense was formidable there, and it looks like they just the defense kind of played maybe a little bit conservatively. It looks like probably, and just kind of gave away some points here and there. But at the end of the day, they won. So, and looks like they're fairly healthy, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, with what you're saying about Pitts, I saw a stat today that said Drake London has the highest target share of any wide receiver in the league. So, I mean, 12 targets, man, he did work. I mean, he's doing work. It's kind of like one of those situations where maybe Mariota's just built that rapport with London so quickly that, he's stepping out as being like an alpha. He's stepping out as being like a number one. No discredit, obviously, to Kyle Pitts' talent and what he should receive as a receiver. I'm sure they're going to try to get him involved, but I thought it was funny that the head coach, Arthur Smith, was basically like, I don't really care about your fantasy football teams or whatever. We're doing whatever's best, for the team or whatever. And it's like, well, yeah, you guys are also 0-2. So,
yeah.
So much for that thought. But hopefully he gets his work. Nothing to really say about Atlanta. I think they're going to be terrible this year. More surprising about the Rams, just like letting a team like that kind of stay in the game. I mean, Atlanta did have a good first week against New Orleans too. So I don't know, maybe they're like a little sneaky. We'll have to wait and see, but I don't have much faith. I just think for the Rams, it's like, it was good that they got a score to Allen Robinson just to like prove that signing was like somewhat worth it. I hope he has, again, like a solid season for them, because I kind of feel bad for that guy, just like with where he's been and how good he was in his prime and everything. I hope he still's got some sort of prime left in him. But yeah, they're kind of showing to be like a little bit lackluster out of the gate here, and I don't feel as bad about putting them as like a wild card team, over like a Super Bowl contender going into this year.
Yeah, you would think that after last week's loss to the Bills, I mean, hey, granted, the Bills are like the best team playing right now, right? But you would think that a Super Bowl, championship team, Super Bowl caliber type of team would try to rebound the next game against a weaker opponent like the Falcons, and it's like, you guys only necked it out, 4 points and everything. Like, you can do a little bit better than that. So, better to be doing this now, I feel like, than later in the season at least. But coming out of the gate right now, they're way too talented of a team to be, letting the Falcons, coming this close to them. So,
yeah, agreed. Seattle Seahawks on the road against the San Francisco 49ers. They lost 27-7. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll grass this. I mean, those Jimmy G coming in. Sorry, man, for Trey Lance and everything. That blows and all. So, God. But hey, look, they signed him, and like, yeah, his contract, because Jimmy G's contract's full of like incentives for play now. So I think he's gonna make most likely gonna make like $5 million a year with all the playing stipulations and all those things added in. So hey, good on them to retain him. I know Trey Lance didn't like it, but it was a smart business and football decision to keep him, because now, hey, look, they're riding the arm of a quarterback who they've got to several NFC championships with, a Super Bowl with, right? So it's like, he knows the offense, knows what to do, and now they're not going to be missing a stride. So. Sorry about Trey Lance. That's definitely a burner. But Niners fan, if I am somebody that thinks that Jimmy G is beautiful, I'm fortunate enough to be going to be able to watch him on TV a little bit more now and cheer him on there. So, but yeah, and Seahawks, not surprised there. I think people they were probably expecting a little bit more of this against the Broncos a little bit. At least I think everybody else was. But yeah, not the best game going forth there for the Seahawks. Only 7 points. Didn't look that great there. And That was like Jeff Wilson too for the Niners. A lot of people are picking him up in their fantasy leagues now. So definitely a nice look there. So, but yeah, good game by the Niners. Maybe this is kind of a blessing in disguise. I don't know. Maybe because Trey Lance didn't look the greatest the past, when he's been playing last game, and then this game, this previous game when he was playing. So
yeah, fair point. I mean, I drafted Trey Lance thinking, okay, this guy can be Jalen Hurts, but we don't know. I mean, he could be Daniel Jones. I mean, we have no idea. And for a team that went to the NFC championship game behind Jimmy G, I get what dilemma they're in. They got a first round pick who's got all this size, speed, perceived talent. It's like we gotta unleash this guy, see what we have, because we've spent that first round pick, and we're going into year 2 now, and it's just kind of sad for him to not really see this out, because still we don't know what he is. So now he misses a whole season. He comes back, he's gonna not have the same explosiveness as he did this year. I mean, talk to Robert Griffin III. It's just too bad for him, because I think at year 3, they may still be in somewhat of an experimentation phase with him as a quarterback, but maybe he doesn't get his life back until year 4. And if you're the Niners and you're trying to win Super Bowls right now, he may become expendable at some point. I don't know where this is going for him in his career. I mean, he could get cut, he could get traded. They might draft a quarterback, they might acquire one. You just don't know. So there's a lot of outcomes that could be in the future for Trey Lance. I hope he ultimately becomes the type of quarterback we all predict him to be, or project him to be, or envision him or dream him to be. It's like, just hope he has a good career somehow, some way. But he gave me 2.5 points for fantasy. I lost my matchup. I dropped him effective immediately. I replaced him with Tua Tagovailoa, who I'm really, really excited about now. But yeah, man, 49ers, this was business as usual. I didn't have much excitement on the Seahawks. But for the 49ers, it's like whoever's in the backfield, there's just next man up kind of mentality. I was also happy week 1 to pick up Jeff Wilson Jr. at 12:58 Eastern time. So I picked him up strategically because I thought Eli Mitchell might get injured, not at the Bears game, but just down the road. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to have this guy who I've had in the past, he can put up some big games. He can put up like a good game and a great game every once in a while. So it's like, hey, as long as he's the RB1 there and all the other backups keep getting injured, it's like, he's going to have a long leash, I think, this season. So we'll see where he goes. But no, this is encouraging. I picked the 49ers to win the division. I'm going to stick with it. I just, we'll have to just see where they kind of top out at this year. But that was a important win, I guess, to start the year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and Jimmy G, man, Arlington Heights, stud, the Italian stallion, still kicking it. So good for him.
Do you know what high school he went to? Do we know that offhand?
Not off the hand, but
he wasn't Conant, was he?
I don't know. Let's see. Jimmy
Schaumburg Saxon.
Is that where he was at?
Hersey Husky.
Early life. Where did he go? Attended Rolling Meadows High School.
Oh man,
was a Mustang.
Yeah. Awesome. And now he's in the Bay dating porn stars. So look where life can go when you just.
You didn't knock him.
I don't know if he's still talking to her, but I think they're probably liking each other's photos on Instagram.
If that's the worst of him, then good for him.
If he does nothing else with his career, he's done.
Just wrap it, bro. Wrap
it. Yeah. Marvelous things. Yeah. Moving on to the next game, we have the Cincinnati Bengals coming up short against the Dallas Cowboys. It was 2017 on the road in Dallas. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass it on because I have my own feelings with the Dallas Cowboys and everything. So I want to hear your thoughts.
I don't have much to say. I'm probably going to kick this one right back to you. Just, Bengals just came out flat. There's no reason why they shouldn't have won this game. There's no reason why, turn it up in Dallas, show out that you're the Super Bowl, runner-ups, and had just a marvelous season last year on offense, and just to kind of fall flat. It was just embarrassing to me, especially with like Dalton Schultz going down and Zeke's not even playing at full speed. It's like, and you got Cooper. I mean, we can go through it, but not much needs to be said. I don't think anything of Dallas because of this win. I'm just more or less like, well, you better start picking it up, boys, because it's going to be a pretty, average to below average season for Cincinnati if they continue down this path.
Yeah, they need to figure out how to protect Joe Burrow, apparently. I mean, I know it's easier said than done when you got Micah Parsons and everything like that, but you got your franchise quarterback, you got 3 stud wide receivers. You got to be able to figure out how to get to them. No excuse to not beat the Cowboys here. Just shorthanded, no Prescott, a banged up Zeke and everything. It's like, and Noah Brown's all of a sudden becoming out of becoming a stud. It almost is like, is this Kellen Moore like showing off a little bit, or is this just the Bengals just not producing? So kind of poor showings for so far in the first couple games for both the Rams and the Bengals side. But at least hey, the Rams have a dub to show for it. So, but yeah, the Bengals they really need to step up their game, I think, here. But this is definitely a winnable game that I feel like after last week's game, this was definitely one that they should have won. So,
yeah, I mean, speaking of stepping up their game, the Broncos won 16-9 over the Houston Texans. Wayne, pass or grass on this one?
I'll grass it for sure. I mean, I think Wilson he's passing a Sutton, which I'm happy for. I think we both got Sutton, so 100 was it 22 yards here. Javonte Williams had himself a decent game too. With the Texans, that's definitely a very winnable team to beat. Granted, hey, the Texans are like, I think they were kind of my sleeper pick out of that weaker division. So I know, I think that the Texans are with Lovey and having that more of a defensive mindset there. They'll be doing okay, but kudos to the Broncos defense, and then Russell Wilson kind of being all Russell Wilson, leading on that defense and making the smart plays there. So I think it was a good overall, I guess, team win, if you will, for the Broncos. But they definitely have I think another level that they need to reach for Broncos fans to feel comfortable where they're at right now. But because they probably ought to have blown out the Houston Texans, but at the same time, if I'm a Texans fans, I'm kind of feeling happy actually, with the tie and a loss. We're 2 games in, so
yeah. Texans. It's going to be tough sledding, I think, for the rest of the year. I like what Dameon Pierce did in game 2, just getting it out of Rex Burkhead's hands and giving him all the carries and some of the passing work. So it seems like Lovey really likes this guy. He just continues to say good things about him. But on Denver's end, like, this is just kind of sad. Like, you brought in Russell Wilson. You've got all these weapons. You got a stout defense. Defense obviously showed out. Giving up 9 points is nothing, and did a great job in week 1 against Seattle. It's just Wilson, 14 for 31. I mean, that's not Russ. 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, that's subpar. Didn't rush for anything. So, really fell on Sutton. I know they lost Judy too, but, we just got to see it. We got to see it next week, the week after, for them to be taken more seriously, if they're going to be anything more than a wild card team or just a 500 team this year. Like, Russell's going to have to step his game up for sure. So we'll see where that goes. But very encouraging to see the 2-head monster that is Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. Javonte averaged like 5 yards a carry. I think the same for Gordon. This is a tough duo. That's a tough combo to stop. And such a good weapon for Russell to have, which makes me even more surprised that his passing numbers are so, subpar. So we'll see where this goes. I'm hoping, or at least thinking, that brighter days are ahead for Russell. I want him to have a good year. I really do. So we'll see where this goes. But Denver at least got a victory out of this and can maybe learn for next week.
Yeah, win's a win. It's definitely not a sexy win for sure, especially with this division that they're playing in with all the studs at quarterback on offense and defense too now. So hopefully the best games are ahead.
For sure. Cardinals over the Raiders 29-23 on the road in overtime. Wayne, pass or grass?
I think I'll grass this. Kyler Murray, definitely bounced back there, I think. And man, it was such a hard loss, I think, as a Raiders fan. But I think Raiders fans are like, nope, used to this stuff. So, Hunter Renfrow, with the fumble at the end there, and then for the return for a touchdown in overtime, like that's very heartbreaking there. But giving up the lead too and everything, like it was like 16, I think, was the unanswered points in the fourth quarter. So it's like, not a good. I don't know if it's McDaniels or what, but something's up there with regards to being able to preserve a lead. Especially against like the Cardinals, and like the Raiders, they're in a tough division too. So. A 0-2 start against in this division with the studs at the Chargers, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, and Justin Herbert, and then you were talking about also the Broncos, who are just underperforming. Like a game like this, they have to seal the deal here. So just not a good loss whatsoever. I mean, no loss is good, right? But this definitely was not a good loss for them. And they let it kind of get away there, and such a turn of events in overtime. I think with Renfrow, they were about to get into field goal position and then just coughed it up. So, not a good game for them. But if I'm a Cardinals fan, hey, I'll take this. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm with you on the Cardinals side of things. I mean, what resolve Kyler Murray showed in this game, because they were down 23-7, and he just kept coming back, kept fighting. I feel like they were down to their last out, their last strike, and he just threw an absolute bullet of a touchdown to get him into overtime. And, good for him. He could have just easily, been nonchalant and kind of, I don't know, sometimes he just seems kind of checked out about winning football games. And, he really stepped it up, because they take a loss here. I mean, it would have been, like a pretty poor start to the year, and who knows, where they would have led, momentum wise. So big win for Kyler. The overtime was exciting. The Renfrow, 2 fumbles almost back to back, it seemed like, and, they got a lucky recovery by the tight end on the first one. And, last one just got poked out and taken to the house by Byron Murphy. But while I was watching that, Byron Murphy seemed to like kind of lift up his arm and, throw it into the end zone. And we were like, double checking the replay. Did this guy actually get rid of it before he hit the pay dirt? And, we've seen that in the past and stuff, but like, regardless, good win for the Cardinals to stay in the race. I think that they're, a viable playoff contender in the NFC for sure. The Raiders, like you said, it's going to be an uphill battle now with, who they have to go against twice a year. And then, just in general, it seems like that, offensive line is, just leaking. There are holes there. It's just going to be tough. So, they're going to really have to string some wins together here to kind of, keep themselves in the race. But I don't have much faith there. So good on the Cardinals, but, Raiders need a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it'd be interesting if they maybe try to utilize like Josh Jacobs more of the backfield to slow down things and get the offensive line situated more. But playoffs last season, but like I said, this division's so good. Like you can't let wins like this slip away. So
for sure. Bears on the road in Lambeau, Sunday night game. Bears 10, Packers 27. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll be nice. I'll pass it to you, bro.
Ah, man. Well, I guess the first quarter was nice. I mean, I was like, hey, that was a good drive. And hey, we scored. And, we look like we're ready to compete tonight. And it didn't take long for Aaron Rodgers and company to just kind of do what they always do. They kind of own us. He's said as much year after year. Yeah, they've got our number. They're a better team. Going into Lambeau Sunday night, there was no way Aaron Rodgers wasn't going to show up. I mean, the two-headed monster in the backfield is nice. I mean, I think any team like the Broncos would love to have two running backs like Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon. I still don't know who Aaron Rodgers' favorite target is as far as his wide receiving core goes, but in a lot of ways, it doesn't necessarily matter that much. I mean, I really feel like he's in a Tom Brady situation too. Like he can just kind of do what he does, and he doesn't have to be above and beyond, excellent as a quarterback to have his team win football games here. But, they did what they had to do to the Bears. On the Bears side, I don't know. I feel like they established a running game early on with Montgomery, which looked really nice off the bat. Didn't seem like they did much after the fact. I don't think Mooney did much again in the second straight week. And, that was his favorite target last year. So, maybe this is coaching, maybe it's scheme, maybe, something's off this year, or he's got just like a new perspective when I talk about like Justin Fields. But, I'm not panicking about this because I kind of have tempered expectations about the Bears this season. But, I'd like to see them just take strides game by game. And not that this was like a really huge setback for them, but, it was just kind of puzzling to know, like, what's this offense going to really be based upon?
Yeah, I know. I think I saw a stat something about, was it Justin Fields has 28 pass attempts, in the first two games of the season, whereas there's no other team that has, there's no other team that has less than 28 completions. Wow. So I'm like, are we going backwards as a franchise? Like, hey, I get this whole like first game. Like, I feel like Bears fans are just making excuses here. So it's like, yeah, like so did the Niners. They played the same game too. Jimmy Garoppolo is still throwing more balls than Justin Fields. So it's like, do they not trust him? Like, what's the big deal here? You drafted you as a franchise, maybe not Ryan Poles and everything, right? But he is the franchise quarterback. You're not going to let him rip it like ever so often, like to Mooney, to Komet, to whoever. Like, you're just passing it Griffin, you're just passing it to St. Brown. Like, come on, And hey, take all the fantasy flair out of it and everything. Like, can they just not pass intermediate passing? Is that out of the question? It was nice to see some bootlegs here and there, some play action, all that. But 3-step drops, a hitch route here and there, or slant, like, is that out of the picture? Like, they just have no faith in him. So it's nice that they were incorporating the run game and all that still, but at the same time, something's got to give. There has to be much more of this modern day passing game that Bears fans have just missed, that the rest of the NFL has. And, if the idea is that this is just going to be another year just like this without, and we've talked about this before, like we looked at this roster and it's like, I know a lot of Bears fans are like, oh yeah, Mooney's going to be great or whatever, Komet's going to be great and all that. Like, we were both like, I mean, they're fine, but not like, they're not, Mooney's not WR1. He's just not, he's not that stud and everything like that. Solid wide receiver, but not that stud. That being said, pass it to him. So I don't know what Getsy's whole deal is about being so conservative like this. Like, this isn't some JV squad, right? Like, you have a first round quarterback there with an arm with all the talent in the world. Like, let him rip it. So yeah.
It's just going to take some time. And I mean, they're just going to need to establish a more modern style of offense. Just give it a shot. I mean, even if he ends up just, going 10 for 30 or something, you just got to get in a rhythm here of playing a modern style of football. I mean, there's just no way you can handcuff this guy and just not unleash him and just expect him to progress with, scrambling and handing the ball off and doing dumb passes and stuff. Like, that's just not, it's not productive. I mean, I'd rather see him fall flat than to kind of be babied like this. So, by year 3, he's going to have to be like a stud and ready to go, or we're going to have to like seriously consider next steps. And I don't think that's to any fault of Justin Fields. I just think it's the way that he's being coached and drug along here, and he's not well supported either. I mean, we talked about this. It's like that offensive line was kind of piecemeal, and the weapons are just okay. Does anybody want a job around the NFL free agency circuit? It was like, yeah, you can come play for the Bears. So it's like, with that, I mean, he's not set up very much for progression, for success, obviously, and we're all kind of waiting for this offseason to come. And I mean, I hate to jump ahead so far, but waiting to see what they do with the $100 million they have available, and possibly some new draft picks and stuff. Like, maybe we can just add a bunch of weapons and other stuff for him to kind of go along with. But without any signs of showing he's progressing, like, that's going to be very hard to kind of picture as like, okay, what would he actually do with a real team?
Yeah. And how about that? Also the run defense too. Roquan, hey man, sorry, man. It's hard to say, like, to show you the money and give you the top linebacker money and all that after this game. But, I understand, hey, it's a different system and all that, but yeah, this was not his best game whatsoever. This is probably one of his worst games he's had as a Bear. Every single time we saw him, he just could not shed a blocker. And Aaron Jones, Dylan, whoever, they always had somebody on him, and just not the best game overall. So it was not the best game, I think, as a Bears fan, for sure, losing to the Aaron Rodgers again on primetime Packers and everything. So but yeah, I definitely agree with what you said with Justin Fields, though. We definitely need to rethink and reevaluate how we do all these things with quarterbacks and like grooming them for success. So, because it's not happening.
Gotcha. Moving on to the Monday night slate, we had 2 games. The first one, Titans 7, Bills 41 in Buffalo. Wayne, pass or grass?
Yeah, I mean, the Titans, Buffalo, I think I'll grass it, sure, whatever. I mean, they are the best team. The Buffalo Bills are the best team in football right now, hands down. They're kind of just toying around the teams. They toyed around. Basically, we're toying around with the Super Bowl, the defending Super Bowl champions. And, Tennessee, I know we've knocked on them. Like, they're still a decent team. They clobber them 41-7. So, Josh Allen is kind of like the front. I don't know if he is. Maybe the front runner of the MVP, just because. Yeah, they're killing the blowing out teams, and he's having hell of a season. I know he had some interceptions, with the Rams and everything, but apart from that, just been killing it. Stephon Diggs, killing it. That defense with Von Miller, like, they've taken it to the next level compared to last season for sure. And he's made everybody in that pass rush just so much better, I feel like, and including the secondary, and that really just goes to show like the premium that a good pass rusher has for an NFL defense. So, as good of as a look as possible. And hey, it was also nice for, I guess, from the Tennessee Titans perspective, Malik Willis looked okay, like, so got some time out there. So good for him. And but yeah, Bills are the best team in football right now.
Yeah, you definitely took one of my points about Malik Willis getting some airtime there. I mean, it had to happen at 41, nothing, 41-7. So, good on Tennessee for, getting that going early on. I mean, as far as, the Bills go, Josh Allen, again, I think like coming into this year, I just expected them to kind of embarrass teams. I think like when you get that close to, tasting the Super Bowl and, having it fall right through your fingers, it wasn't like they did anything bad. I just think the KFC Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs just, outplayed them in that game and just had that extra opportunity at the end. And it's just like coming in this year, we just knew that they were going to be fired up. And you're just going to be like pissed off, just like wanting to embarrass teams. And I think like they're going to continue to do this. And, you know, whether it ends up in a Super Bowl victory is one thing, but they're by far, you know, at the top of the power rankings, I would say so far in the NFL. No disrespect to the Chiefs, who would probably, you know, hear this and just stew on it as they continue to win as well. But man, if we're setting ourselves up for another NFC Championship game with these boys, like on both sides, KC, Buffalo, like I'm like, take my money. I'm ready to listen.
Yeah, no, if it's anything like that, that matchup, that's gonna be the Super Bowl essentially. Like, I mean, those teams are, you know, if they're all healthy, come you know, championship time, those two teams, I don't know how you can't bet against them, or how you can bet against them really. So I don't know if there's any NFC team that can necessarily compete with them, apart from both of our picks of the Bucks, right? So, but you know, right now those two teams are looking hot. So, and I would love to see them play. I don't know if they're playing like, you know, earlier this season, but I would love to see both of them compete like where they're playing at right now, right? That would be awesome. But yeah, Kansas City Chiefs and Buffalo Bills, right now they're just the top of the food chain. They're just eating teams up. So happy to see all that.
Yeah, well, keep your TV on for week 6 when the Bills travel to KC to play the Chiefs.
Oh my God, that's gonna be nuts.
put it down. It'll be at 4:25 on October 16th. So I'm just looking through the Bills schedule right now, and man, that's going to be a good one. Seriously, not to say whoever wins that is like the surefire, you know, winner of the conference, but I mean, messages will be sent for sure. So that I'll hope to be tuning in on that weekend, that day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and they also got the Ravens. Looks like I'm looking at the Bills schedule now. Yeah, they also got the Ravens on October 2nd. So you know, as long as you know Kyle Hamilton is back a little bit and everything, not screwing up in his coverages, then yeah, that should be a great game too, I think. So definitely we'll be watching the Bills, I think, the next couple of games here.
Gotcha. And finally, you know, staying on teams that are showing out a lot and improving their strength and superiority, the Philadelphia Eagles took care of the Minnesota Vikings 24-7 at home. Wayne, pass or grass?
I'll pass it off to you, man. I know, yeah, your Eagles were your team, right? So here we go.
Yeah, I just think I said it earlier with Tom Brady. It's like I think the Eagles have such a good roster that Jalen Hurts just has to be good. He doesn't have to be great. He just has to take care of the ball. He's got to, you know, take advantage of opportunities that are beneficial to him, you know, get them in field goal range, you know, when they're at the goal line, you know, try to take care of most of those opportunities, put up some points, and the rest will be history. I think this is a team that's super dynamic. I mean, Hurts, you know, rushing for a couple scores, so mobile, proving that he actually has an arm and is decent accuracy. I mean, he threw pretty nice touchdown ball to Quez Watkins for a score that I saw earlier in the game. And man, I just think this team's fun. They're young, they're healthy. I mean, this is going to be just, I think, a breakout party for the Eagles this year. You know, especially with where the NFC East currently stands and the rest of the NFC. I mean, I think there are holes there. So, you know, I think they'll get double digit wins and, you know, comfortably go into the playoffs in some form. On the other side of the ball, just really weird to see Kirk Cousins kind of take a step back because, you know, he had a good first week, new offense, new scheme. He's got, you know, great weapons around him, and he just kind of put up a Kirk Cousins type clunker. I like Kirk Cousins. I always have. I still will. I mean, if somebody dropped him, you know, this week, and I had to pick between Tua and him, you know, I'd be hard pressed, man. I'd probably pick up Cousins, man. I like this guy as like just you know, he's a fixture. He's not anything more than a, you know, good quarterback, I feel like. But just a disappointing game. I mean, Jefferson had only, you know, I think it was like 6 receptions for almost 50 yards, and he had like 12 targets or something. It was just a very quiet game. But, you know, this score and outcome seemed pretty, you know, I guess I was comfortable with this. I didn't think that Minnesota like outright failed. I just think that this Eagles team is a little bit superior, especially at home. So I think Minnesota will bounce back. I don't think this is anything to panic about. It's just, you know, tough game on a Monday night on the road with excited fan base in Philly and a team that's like just rolling ahead.
I mean, this was definitely, I feel like, a Kirk Cousins. It was prime time. What's his record in prime time? Like, it's like 0 and like nothing, or like 0 and like 20 or something like that. And except I think he the only team he can beat on prime time, I believe, are the Bears. So it's like, he just doesn't show up for whatever reasons. It's definitely a Kirk Cousins type of game, but. To the Eagles point, more to the Eagles, great defensive effort. They really just made sure that Kirk Cousins was going to beat them. Like they were like, we're going to stop Dalvin Cook, and hey, Kirk Cousins, you beat us, right? With our secondary and our pass rush, Sweat had a great game. Fletcher Cox had a good game too. And Darius Slay picked up 2 interceptions. So, good overall defensive effort. I think there was a couple like drop passes here and there too from the Vikings, so that certainly didn't help. I think Irv Smith had like a wide open fly route that he just flat out dropped. So they definitely had some chances there, but great overall team victory. And this is like how you're supposed to build around a quarterback, right? That you draft, right? You have a solid offensive line. You have a running back that is capable. You have some wide receivers. You have a veteran wide receiver to help out with a young quarterback to build up confidence for them to pass to. You do all these things. And then, you have a good coaching staff to help groom all that and put it all together. So, it's that this is definitely the ideal type of situation, I think, for Jalen Hurts. And, he's definitely taking that. I think it seems like he's taking that next level of I think you brought like the whole Lamar Jackson type of comparison in terms of having a decent offense, like in terms of passing, you're not having to do anything more than you have to, like taking whatever the defense gives you, and then if you see an opening for a nice run, make some plays with your legs, kind of like what a lot of people are talking about with Trubisky, like hey. Earlier on, you can run. Go ahead and run. You don't have to figure out who to pass to. I think there are so many instances where Trubisky had nobody in front of him, but was trying to find somebody to pass it to. It's like, bro, just run. It's okay. It's okay. You're a white quarterback. We get it. White quarterbacks are supposed to pass it. You can run it for 10, 15 yards and then pass later. So, Jalen Hurts, I think he's doing good, and this is as good of a team as they're definitely going to be, I think, taking the division just from what we've seen so far. So
for sure. Just for the record, Kirk Cousins is 10-18 now in prime time, 2-10 in Monday Night Football games, 3-4 on Thursdays, 4-4 on Sundays, and 1-0 on Saturdays. So lucky for him, no playoff game should fall on a Monday. But man, that's pretty brutal. I didn't know all that, but man, I still like me some Kirk Cousins, man. I don't know why. He just seems like a nice guy. He just comes in, throws a couple of deep balls, like hits J Jets going deep, and checks down to Thielen. Like I don't know, man.
Yeah. Go ahead. His career's been interesting, right? Like people forget that it was him. I think he was drafted in the 3rd round, and then the first round was Robert Griffin III, right? For the the now Commanders, right? So it's interesting how that all transpired, because first off, no team ever drafts a quarterback twice in the same NFL draft, right? But they did in the first 3 rounds. So it was interesting that they did that, because I think, from my understanding, I think it might have been Snyder that wanted Griffin third, but I think Shanahan wanted Cousins, something along those lines. And I was like, well, hey, look at them now, like Kirk Cousins. I mean, granted, Griffin had a lot of injuries and all that things with Shanahan and how that was all managed. But hey, look, Kirk Cousins is still kicking it, and this is as bad of a game as Kirk Cousins will have probably this season. So that's it. Then he's going to have with the weapons he has, he's going to have decent games ahead of him. So And he's definitely had pretty formidable career. But like I said, this is definitely a Kirk Cousins game. So
Yeah, I definitely thought Cousins got a raw deal while in Washington. I mean, he's good. He's not great. He's good. But sometimes I think people get so enamored with what great could be or how, amazing it'd be if we had a great quarterback. Sometimes it's like, well, you got somebody who's like pretty consistent and puts a pretty good, passing stats year after year. And, it's pretty stable within this locker room. So like, why don't we just build around this guy? So kind of feel like that was the year where when he won that playoff game, he's, kind of yelling back at the GM. I mean, you feel like he had like a classic line that's going over my head at this moment. But yeah, I don't know. DC has a history of wanting an African-American quarterback. Doug Williams, Donovan McNabb, Jason Campbell, Robert Griffin III. The list kind of goes on, but I mean, I feel like in the city, African-American population is pretty strong and the fan base is, more or less from a marketing standpoint, I feel like Snyder's always been kind of after that. So like, that's at least why, maybe there was that little, separation between, the Griffin camp and the Cousins camp at that time. But, yeah, I mean, we could go on and on about Robert Griffin, his career and everything like that. But yeah, in any case, we'll see where this goes. Chalk it up as another Monday night loss for Kirk Cousins, and maybe the Vikings can still find their way, into a playoff mix here. I think they've shown that they can compete this year, and NFC is pretty thin, so we'll have to just see.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of owners, not Daniel Schneider, but Robert Sarver in the National Basketball Association. We covered him in our last episode. We talked about race, sexual harassment, kind of what all happened in Phoenix and, his doing and all that. And what the NBA's response was, they gave him a year, they gave him a $10 million fine. And, LeBron, Chris Paul, others spoke out about that. And, man, no kidding. Today, sitting at work, seeing an alert pop up on my phone that he's looking to sell both the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Mercury of the WNBA. I mean, couldn't be happier. I mean, not surprised, but just like relieved a little bit. Like, thank you, Wayne. What'd you make of all this?
Yeah, no, I think I read his apology, and it was like I kind of like agreed. I think with was it Richard Jefferson? I think he said something along the so like Richard Jefferson, like he's definitely like an Arizona boy and everything. Like I think that's where he's from. Went to college there. Knows the owner and everything, but then also has heard from a lot of people within the Suns Mercury organization about all these things after the fact, after these reports kind of came out. So he's like, this guy needs to go. So he's definitely excited about all that. But then, yeah, to this whole apology thing, it was kind of like, it was kind of like I don't know, kind of like a anti-cancel culture thing, which I'm like, is this the route you want to go with? Like you definitely did some crappy stuff. And it's like, as an owner, I think that's one thing that, is the biggest difference here. You're the owner of the franchise. So we talk about organizational power dynamics and things of that nature, right? It's like if you were, I don't know, some sort of janitor, some sort of low-level employee, an intern or whatever, and you said all these things, like do the Suns have to like issue a statement? No, they're just gonna be like, this guy's just a douchebag, whatever. But if you're the owner and you're doing all these things, saying the N-word or whatever, like, there can be this whole debate, I guess, like, is it okay if you're referencing past whatever? Just as an owner, don't say it. Just don't say it. So, like, you just don't say it. And then also, talking about this whole things like the sexual harassment, like with pregnant women too, and all, like, you're the owner. Like, that is a responsibility. That's kind of what you sign on the dotted line for, if you will, with regards to being able, it is a privilege, like, and these things can be taken away because of the way you act and behave. So that's the biggest, I think that's my biggest takeaway with regards to that. Like, hey, we can say whatever we want about cancel culture. great, whatever. But if you're the owner of a franchise and you're talking about these things, and then kind of promoting a sexual harassment type of environment, that's just not acceptable for really any organization. So that's strongly where it is. If you're an owner, you can't really like fire the CEO in a way, because you kind of are the CEO, right? So it's like, this is the next best thing that you can do. And with regards to how the NBA is structured, it's definitely the kind of all the owners have a say with regards to who is an owner. So it's kind of like Survivor, if you will, with regards to that. If somebody is a detriment to the rest of the league, such as also what we saw with Sterling, it's like you're saying a lot of crappy things about African Americans, and guess what? The NBA is like 70-80% black, so that's not a good thing. So he had to go, and yeah, it's with power dynamics and power structure. And hey, we can say what we want about cancel culture and all that. Fair enough. But if you're the owner of a predominantly African American league and you're saying all these things, and then you're also talking about misogyny and all that, that's crossing the line there. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, Robert Sarver, grab your torch. You're off the island. The tribe has spoken at this point, buddy. Like, this dude deserves to be canceled. I mean, I'm not a guy who like sits back and like, oh, I'm going to cancel this guy because he said, this or that, or was like offensive that one time, or or whatever else. Like, I think people deserve second chances, but when you establish a culture like that, just awful, because you got to think of the people that have to be obedient in those situations and kind of follow the lead. Nobody wants to hurt their own career. Nobody wants to have that all go sideways and be a martyr in those situations. Like, it's really hard for people to stand up and have courage against, the guy who's signing their checks or whatever. So just to get him out of there and just like, if this guy's already prone to this stuff, I don't want to hear an apology. Like, just leave, because, it's already like damage done. And anybody who's thinking about playing for you is going to have, second thoughts about, what that may represent, or, what that may say to people of their own culture, their own kind and stuff. So yeah, this guy just deserves to, be ejected from his seat, and, no parachute, just let him fly away.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, sorry, I was gonna say, like, I have no secret whatsoever. Oh, I have to sell a team. Oh my god, I think he bought it like maybe I forget when he bought it, but I think he bought it for like $400 million or something like that. And then now he's probably they were last valued at like 2 some odd billion. He's fine. Like, I don't care. Like
oh man, I just bought this beach house 2015, and now we're in the pandemic, and it's gonna hurricane, but shit, I guess I multiplied my home value by 10 times. So I guess I'll get out of here before the hurricane hits. But yeah, man, no, I'm with you. Awesome that this actually all worked out, though. Like, I'm glad that what LeBron said, Chris Paul said, actually mattered. It led to change. It makes the whole Phoenix situation so much more interesting with whoever they may end up selling it to, a destination that people could be happy about. Because even before all this crap hit the fan, people are always talking down about Phoenix as, how as an organization and how they're run, how they're owned. This guy's a cheapskate, I've heard. It's like, just get him out of there, man. Just drain that swamp and, start anew. But just the message it sends too is so nice, because it creates a threshold of like tolerance. It's like, okay, we now know if you say 5 N-words, you're out. If you do what Donald Sterling did, you're out. If you do what Don Imus did, you're off the air. It's like, keep this stuff going, because seriously, man, we're fighting so many forces right now in this world, like with, just hate and people coming from the other side of things, that, that's gaining momentum in the same sense and on a different wavelength. But it's like, man, just to have, some of our, modes of entertainment, things we enjoy, kind of be cleaned up, like, very important to me. So
yeah, for sure, man. Yeah. Oh,
yeah. Screw you, Robert Sarver. Yeah, I hope you listen to the Ball and Breakfast podcast, you idiot. Like, just get this guy out of here, man.
I'm just picturing him crying right now. It is
jerk.
money.
He's listening on Anchor right now, somewhere somewhere at like a
Beach
anger
house.
management meeting or something. He's pissed off. All right.
Yeah. Take that.
We're not talking about you anymore. You're off the list of topics for good. You're done. All right.
Yeah. Oh,
Shifting over to something that may be wiped clean. Chicago White Sox in their 2022 season. They're going at it right now with the Guardians. We checked earlier on, it was 5-0 Cleveland after just a really bad loss the night before in extras. Yeah, they're down 8-2 right now in the bottom of the ninth. So, Wayne, I don't know. If we lose this game, we're down 6 games to Cleveland with like a week and a half to go, and they've got the tiebreakers. So if we tie, they go in anyway. I don't know. How do you feel about all this? The game itself, maybe today or yesterday, or what's your takeaway this season, and where do we go from here if we don't make it to the promised land?
Yeah, disappointing season overall. I think my biggest thing is like, why can't we play well at home? Like right now, we're 35-8 at home. Away, we have like 41-34, about the same record as the Guardians. Actually, they're 41-35 right now. And it's like, at home they're 40-31. Like, why can't we just win at home? Why can't we protect this house? So, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's the commutes or whatever from everybody. We just can't win at home, and when you can't protect your house in baseball or really any major league sport, then that's that you're going against a lot of headwinds there. So, but yeah, if I'm assuming we're gonna lose and everything here, and go down 6 games back. So, yeah, disappointing season overall. Nice that we were able to make a little bit of a run here kind of at the end, but unless we went all out and all of a sudden like the Guardians collapse at the end of the season, which I don't anticipate happening. They're playing pretty good baseball. It doesn't look good. And something's gonna have to give, I think, this coming off season.
Yeah. This is the second straight year where we talked a little bit of trash out of turn. Like last year was Ryan Tepera talking about the Houston Astros during the ALDS, and then this year Elvis Andrus basically just said like, I think the Guardians are going to collapse. So this is like, shut up, like both of you guys, shut up, like stop talking. We're not that good. If we have to talk at this point, like we're probably just trying to peacock on the whole situation stuff. But I gotta say, man, as the year winds down, obviously just like a really disappointing year, one that I kind of try to avoid. Like I try to avoid watching games. I try to avoid like watching scores live in real time, because it was always kind of a letdown. But they did really show some signs of life in the second half. I mean, I feel like at one point they were cruising along out of the All-Star, break, and they've had a pretty decent August as well. Just getting the team back somewhat. Eloy Jimenez started hitting home runs, batting consistently. Andrew Vaughn had a complete season, great year for him. I love where that's all going on the offensive side. There are some bright spots with this team, and there is a lot of talent. It's just like, we're just going to need to, I think, reboot a little bit, bring in some fresh legs, maybe make a creative trade or two. But yeah, the Guardians have had a good year too. I don't want to short sell like what they've accomplished this year, because I think they've just played with a lot of unity. I think the White Sox could learn a lot from a team like the Guardians, like just how fundamentally sound they've played, and just had what seemed to be great camaraderie throughout the entire year. And that pitching staff showed up, especially Bieber and Tristan McKenzie. They're getting other guys toward the back end of the staff that are showing up too. But they're usually like a pretty class act organization. I've always actually liked the Cleveland organization, Indians Guardians, because of how they play the game. I mean, I just reluctant. I can't get behind the Twins the same way, just because they've just always been like our arch nemesis, and the Detroit Tigers are just trash. So Yeah, I don't know. I've always had respect for Cleveland, and if they get in, I'll root for them somewhat. But yeah, man, just a tough season, and hope we can bounce back next year.
Yeah, I think next year, I mean, you know, different changes. Frank Menachino got to go. Like, I don't know how you can go from like you just look at our roster and it's like, where do we expect in terms of our hitting? Okay, where are we performing? Like, it just doesn't match. So he's got to go at least. And then we've both spoken about Tony Russo and everything there too. And it's like now I guess the conversation, if that is to occur, then who's going to be the new manager? I know we've both spoken about some of our picks in there. Then there's also now Miguel Cairo. It's like, does he get a shot now? Like, did okay and everything like that, but I don't know. So we'll see. I'm going to be looking forward to, I guess, some postseason baseball, and with there's a lot of just good baseball teams out there that are playing right now. So very, very much looking forward to all that. I am going to be going to on Friday. Going to be going to the Yankee game against the Red Sox. So hoping to see some history there now with Aaron Judge now, huh?
I mean, yeah, that was another point we were going to touch on. We've talked about Judge this season as far as MVPs go, and what it would take for him to stand out clearly, at least in my mind, your mind, as an MVP. Winner for the AL. To me, it's 62, and it's kind of cool. Is like on Friday, you may actually get to see that live. That'd be so awesome. But man, what a season he's having, and he's in the 60 home run club now, and he hasn't reportedly taken any sort of PEDs that we know of. I really, truly, hopefully, hope that's the case, and that he did this, as cleanly as possible in the game of the MLB. We never really fully know what's going on behind the curtains, but no, like truly a remarkable season. He seems like a class act. Seems like just a good guy. He seems kind of like he doesn't have an ego in a lot of ways. Just very much like, stoic in the way that he like takes a curtain call, or like kind of shrugs off fans from throwing debris on the field. Like, it's kind of like he always shows that he's a leader, and a kind of a quiet leader at that. So I think everybody can get behind Aaron Judge and like what he's doing this season.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely like Aaron Judge, and I think he even gave like props to Ohtani too. Is like, oh yeah, Ohtani's better, right? I think, like, So, yeah. I mean, it'll be a battle between those two, but like, how do you go against Aaron Judge? I feel like with where the Yankees are, you also look at WAR, right? He's at 9.7. It looks like for this season. Ohtani, as great of a season he's having 8.8. It's almost one full WAR point over him there. They're both having epic seasons, and they're both far and away, I think, from everybody else. Like with here, at least compared to the rest of the league, it's like Goldschmidt at his WAR is 7.6, and then Arenado is 7.5. So yeah, compared to Aaron Judge 9.7 and Ohtani 8.8, like both of those players are just having epic seasons overall. Ohtani again, and I think we made that comparison of like with Russell Westbrook, and like, oh, he's just averaging a triple double again or something like that. Obviously not saying that they're the same kind of players, Ohtani is Russell Westbrook, but it's like, they're both having that novelty kind of epic stats season, and which is great overall. But, when their team's not, winning that many games and everything, then how great is that? And then where does this discussion for MVP kind of belong? Is it actually the most valuable player, or is it most, the most skilled player? But if it is like the most valuable player, and kind of how it traditionally has been, then I guess you got to vote Aaron Judge here. Just the epic historic season, Yankees at first place, and just overall what he's been able to bring to the table here. And looks like the game is final now for the White Sox and the Guardians here. So
yeah, no doubt. And we've talked about Ohtani and Judge. I mean, to me, like what Ohtani's doing on both sides is just, it's insane. I mean, to be as an offensive player alone, competitive with every other player in that league, and then, oh yeah, I'm just going to throw on, SP1 type stats on that side too. I mean, it's a shame the Angels are so bad. It really just takes away from his ability to get airtime and to be, in the mix for playoffs. Like, who wouldn't love to watch, Shohei Ohtani in the playoffs, and even Mike Trout at that. But no, I think with where things are going, I mean, the logical selection here now is Aaron Judge. I mean, even to get into the 60 territory with, a couple of weeks left, like, I'm pretty sure he's going to do it. I'm pretty sure he's going to break, at least 61. To me, that is meaningful. I think that, again, I think committee, any committee that, is formed for MLB and making rules and keeping stats, or maybe it's the Hall of Fame or the writers that need to get involved. Like, I would just love to see them overwrite some of these, steroid tainted numbers from guys that have actually, tested positive for PEDs. I mean, I feel like even asterisks would be just huge, because I'd love to just be able to celebrate Judge getting number 62. That'd be such a, important celebration, especially in New York, where it was, that record was established by two guys. So, we'll see. But, hats off to Aaron Judge for just, again, awesome season.
Yeah, for sure. I still though believe the most valuable player, no matter what the WAR says, is still Sandy Alcantara. Still, like, 212 innings pitched, looks like still a 2.387 ERA. I know it's a pitcher, right? But bringing a lot to the table, eating those innings, like, he's gonna win the Cy Young, I think, probably for the NL. But still, this guy, love him. But yeah, Aaron Judge, I think MVP, deserving. And whenever, I mean, sure, we can always talk about the New York media and all that, but I think for this case, Judge deserves it and all the accolades that are coming his way. So,
for sure. So I don't know if you caught this, but a restaurant was really mad about Applebee's putting on this $13 all-you-can-eat wing special. They decided to do its own Monday night deal: 50-cent wings, $2 drafts. And that bastard was TGI Fridays. They said, no way, Applebee's. You're not getting away with it. You're not taking our money, our market share. We're doing this. But most important question, Wayne, what is the better deal?
I mean, I'm trying to get my calculator going. One is like the fixed cost. That's what, $13. How many cents a wing was it? You just say it was like
50 cents a wing for the TGI Fridays deal.
Okay, so that's what, so that's 26 wings then that you need to eat. I think that's right. So, I feel like, well, am I capable of eating 26 wings? Yes, on a good day, for sure. So, I mean, if you're a weakling and you can't do the 26 wings, then yeah, sure, go with the TGI Fridays, right, and a couple beers. But if you're gonna fast or whatever and like prepare yourself mentally and physically to eat, which I've done before, then yeah, go for all you can eat, $13 at Applebee's. I think that's how I would approach it.
Because you have to get to like 40 or 50 wings probably at the Applebee's deal to make that worth it, just because the beer prices seemingly stay consistent at Applebee's. And if you're going to Applebee's for that deal, I'm just assuming you're going with a friend or two and you're going to have a couple of cold ones. So yeah. I guess with the $2 fixed price for the Miller drafts, you have to get Miller Lite drafts for TGI Fridays. Does that change any part of this scenario for you?
Beers, how much are beers at Applebee's? I think that's the biggest question here. I can't believe I am looking at the beer and wine menu at Applebee's.
We're gonna have to peg this to the CPI and account for adjusted inflation in whatever market you're living in. Yeah. Well, okay. Let's
taxes.
Let's call it $4. Let's call it $5 because. Okay, let's call it the Miller Lite draft. Okay, you have Miller Lite drafts at Applebee's.
They're not even listing it.
Really?
Yeah. It probably is like a regional thing. Like, New York beer probably costs more than like, middle nowhere Tulsa or something like that. So,
well, let's call it $5 a Miller Lite because apples to apples, you're getting a $2 Miller Lite draft at TGI Fridays with their deal.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, if that's still the case, then I feel like, yeah, it still does apply. If you plan on creating some havoc and like coming in like with the empty stomach, then you definitely have to choose the Applebee's. I feel like,
Okay.
yeah. Otherwise, yeah, you're gonna have to do the 26 wings on top of the couple beers. So, yeah, I think that's how I would roll. So for me personally, I would probably choose Applebee's in this case.
Okay. So you're going ham. Yeah. If you're going ham at the Monday night game, Thursday night game, and again, this is any day of the week you can go get Applebee's, which is also a feather in their cap. You just have to hit that hard. You have to hit it as hard as possible. And then if you're going to TGI Fridays, I mean, it's not to say you have to have 26 wings. You could make that a 15 piece or, a 20 piece even, couple drafts. It's more of like maybe a work colleague or maybe a girl who's maybe like,
she's getting a salad. You want to show her up. Or maybe going on a date. I don't know.
If this is the date, then that's probably like the 5th or 6th person on the depth chart in your Bumble or Tinder account. So, but I gotcha. All right, this is good. I'm glad we covered this. And I know by next episode I also saw another $13 all-you-can-eat meal by a Let Us Entertain You restaurant. I searched high and dry for this thing. We will unearth it for the next round, but I know there's another competitor out there trying to steal some sort of market share. But anyways, kids, go out there, get some wings, get some cold suds in you. It's football season. We'll be here, covering all sorts of fast food and other sorts of miscellaneous here on the Ball and Breakfast podcast. Wayne, do you have any closing thoughts for today's episode?
This is what math is all about, is trying to figure out which chain restaurant deal is the best for you. So, do some math, kids, and then, become engineers, doctors, all that fun stuff, and accountants. So, and rule the world. So, and
yeah, and as much as I gush about these deals, it's like so hard for me to like get out of the house to actually like accomplish this because, we got a kid who goes to bed at 6:37, so he can't come to either of these places. But
I mean, I'm a bachelor, but it's like, do I want to go to TGI Fridays or Applebee's? Do I want to go on a date there even? Like, I mean, I'll get judged, but I mean, hey, that might be a keeper.
It's kind of funny because at this age, like, I've got a couple of buddies I golf with where I'm like, I've shared these deals with them, and I'm just like, if we can sneak away after that 5-hour golf session where, our significant others won't be PO'd that we're out of the house for that long, like, let's go to Applebee's, let's do this. But man, yeah, I think if me and my wife get a night off, if I take her to Applebee's, I mean, I may as well be signing my divorce papers at that point. So, anyways, lot to think about. I do every single day when I see those deals pop up. But anyways, yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode of the Ball and Breakfast podcast. We'll be back next time. Watch some football. Week 3 is coming soon.
Take care, all.